So, you're gearing up for that senior level civil service exam. And you've probably hit those tricky scenario-based questions, right? They can feel so subjective, leaving you guessing what on earth the examiners are really looking for. Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back that curtain. We're going to decode the logic behind these questions. So let's dive right in. All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the core challenge of these leadership exams. Then we'll get into 3 absolutely essential principles that define how senior leaders think. And to wrap it all up, we'll give you a simple, powerful code you can use on any scenario they throw you. Trust me, by the end of this, you won't just be ready for the exam, you'll have a whole new way of thinking strategically. Let's start with a feeling I bet is pretty familiar. You're looking at a scenario question, and you're thinking, well, a few of these answers could work. You're not crazy, you're not alone. The secret here is that these questions aren't about facts you can memorize. Nope, they're designed to test something very specific, a leader's judgment. And that brings us right to the leadership exam challenge. The real test is making that mental shift, moving from being a team member who's great at completing tasks to being a senior leader who actually shapes the entire environment. Let's break down exactly how you make that leap. Okay, if you remember one thing today, make it this. These questions are not random. There is a consistent, learnable pattern behind every single correct answer. And once you see it, you really can't unsee it. We're going to move you from trying to memorize things to recognizing the pattern. All right, let's jump into our first principle. Think systemically. This is the absolute foundation of strategic thinking. It's all about shifting your focus from just fixing one little problem to redesigning the whole system so that problem can't even happen again. And this slide just lays it out so perfectly. You know, a reactive fix? That's just a Band-Aid. It covers up the problem for a little while. A systemic solution, on the other hand, is like creating a whole new safety procedure that prevents the injury from ever happening in the first place. Senior leaders don't just put out fires. They fireproof the entire building. Okay, time to put this into practice. Let's say you've got several universities, or HEIs, all with the same issue. Their hiring process is inconsistent, maybe even biased. So what's the move? Do you go and investigate every single complaint one by one? Or do you think bigger? And there it is. You see the principle in action. The best answer is to create one standardized guideline for all of them. And why is that? Because it goes straight to the root cause, the lack of a fair, consistent system. It doesn't just patch up today's problem, it prevents all the problems that could have happened tomorrow. That right there is systemic thinking. Now for our second principle, build lasting capacity. Look, a good leader gets things done, but a great leader? They build a team that can get things done without them even being in the room. This is all about empowerment and long-term development. This difference is so important. It's really easy to fall into that direct control trap, especially when you're under pressure. But when you solve problems for your team, all you're doing is creating dependency. The real strategic move is always to build their skills, build their confidence, and create independence. So here's a classic management dilemma. Your junior experts, they're just not taking the lead. Your gut instinct might be to just assign them more tasks or, send them to some training course, but what's the most effective way to actually empower them? The secret here is that the best answer is developmental. It's about talking with them, not just at them. It's about dialogue and encouragement. This isn't a quick fix, and it's not supposed to be. It's an investment in their long-term growth and in creating a real culture of initiative. You're building capacity that's going to last. Our third and final principle is a total game changer. Use data proactively. See, at a senior level, data isn't just something you report up the chain. It's a tool. It's a tool for diagnosis, and it's a catalyst for action. This slide really gets to the heart of it. The passive approach, that's just being a messenger. You forward a report, maybe with a note that says FYI. But the proactive, senior-level approach is to analyze that data, to figure out the story it's telling, and then use that story to drive real improvements. Let's look at a real-world example. Imagine this feedback lands on your desk. A survey shows that university presidents are really frustrated with your reporting requirements. Now, for a passive employee, this is just a complaint. But for a strategic leader, this is pure gold. This is valuable data. So what's your play here? Do you fire back an email saying the rules are the rules? Do you just forward the complaint to your boss? Or do you see this as a huge opportunity to make things better? The strongest answer, of course, is to use that feedback like a doctor uses a symptom, as a diagnostic tool.
You analyze the current system and you come back with a proposal for a better one. You're not just dealing with a complaint, you're using data to drive a systemic improvement. And this is where you can see all three principles starting to work together.
Okay, let's bring this all home. We've gone through the three core principles. Now, let's combine them into a simple, powerful code that you can apply to any scenario question that comes your way. I want you to think of these principles as your master key. Seriously. Instead of fumbling around with a different key for every single door, you now have the one key that's going to unlock all of them. Let's take a look at what that key is. This is it. This is your strategic thinking code, your cheat sheet. Next time you're facing one of those scenarios, just ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Which answer creates a long-term system, not a short-term fix? 2. Which answer empowers other people? And 3. Which answer uses information to actually drive improvement? The option that checks those boxes, that's almost always your winner. So you see, with this framework, the question changes. It's not just what is the right answer anymore. It's something bigger. This is the exact kind of thinking that defines real leadership. It's not just about passing a test. It's about being ready for the job that comes after. So the real question is, are you ready to lead?